Producer Jesse alerted me the other day that there was a very, very lengthy thread over on the Reddit college football page where people were comparing us versus Joel Klatt. I love Klatt's show. So my recommendation to you, if you're trying to choose either or, is listen to both because it's an on-demand world now, and so you get to listen at your convenience. I really actually don't get that part of the debate. However, we went through this thing, which I normally don't do, and I got some pretty good feedback from you guys. Now, some of you were mean, and some of you went to personal attacks, but that's okay. It is the internet, after all. However, some of you had some constructive feedback, and I wanted you to know I read it, and I wanted you to know when you said things like you think the show's been too repetitive with specific themes over the past couple of months, I agree with you. Unbeknownst to you, that was already written in my own grades for myself and was something that we were already aiming to address. Because when I go back and I look, yeah, we have been too repetitive on some things. Also, you guys said, some of you, not all of you, some of you said, too many teams were mentioned over and over and over again. Now, obviously, there is a reason for that, somewhat. If I talk about Ohio State, it does us a whole lot more favor than talking about fill in the blank. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. I used to use Akron all the time, but the people at Akron got mad because they said, why do you keep picking on us? There are like 500 other programs out there. So I'm not going to do it. But yeah, business-wise, it makes more sense. However, look, if you're running a high-level operation, which we fancy this show as being one, we should be able to talk about anything and keep someone's attention. And also, I should be able to present Virginia football for a minute and a half to you in a way that doesn't make you go to sleep. It's tough, but it's a challenge I'm willing to take on. So those two bits of feedback, too repetitive at times, and talking about the same few teams over and over again, although the second allegation is not entirely true, there is some truth to it. So I listened, and so we're going to address that. I did want to address some of the other allegations and some of the other complaints. Some of you said the show is not enough X's and O's. It never will be. That's not my forte. It's not my strong suit. If you want me to, I'll be happy to direct you to some folks who do that. I had Kublik on the other day. He texts me every show, and I talk to him frequently because, candidly, I think he's one of the best out there at that. He's got a mixture of personality and X's and O's knowledge. Cube Show, by the way, if you want to go check out the YouTube channel. In a perfect world, you have a group of pods or shows that you're probably watching, and ours is a lot more conversational. Ours is a lot more water cooler. Now, I'll dive deep occasionally on stuff. We're well-sourced. We get a lot of really good intel and information on the show, but it's never going to be X's and O's. There's no greaseboard in here. I didn't play or coach the game at a high level. How stupid would I be to try and X's and O's you to death? It would be the death of me if I tried to do that. So no, that's not the kind of show that you're watching here. You said, some of you said, a lot of opinion, but not a whole lot of analysis. Now, I can tell that's just folks who haven't watched the show during the season. There's plenty of analysis during the season. There are no games happening right now. I'm not sure what you think is going to get analyzed in July. Pate is never negative. I can also tell that those are folks who haven't watched during the season. I do have a general philosophy. There is not a lot of negativity on the show, but especially in the spring and summer, why would you be negative in spring and summer? Nothing's happened. No games have happened. And so, yeah, guilty as charged, I guess, depending on the time of the year. SEC Homer, we've addressed this a million times. You would probably structure your show no different than I structure mine if you did a national show once you got the data that we get. That's all I'll say on that. I said the word earlier. I got an itch on my nose. Oh, not that. That's not the word I said. I said this word earlier, condescending. There were some accusations of being condescending, and I'll address those in a second. Someone, I did get a laugh out of this. Someone said, I choose Pate, and it's not close. And then one of our viewers came in the comment section and said, you know he doesn't like that, right? Beautiful. Laughed until I cried when I read that. Okay, so for the folks who use condescending, or for those of you who just complained about some of the other ins and outs and inside nomenclature of the show, here's the balance I try and strike. So this show's blown up. Really, really big. We got bonkers numbers. And there's a really, really communal feel to it. And I know that. We build it that way intentionally. As you start to build a product, as you start to build a show that's got a really, really community-based feel to it, the risk you run is the further you get into that and the bigger that the community becomes, you never take time to introduce new people to the community. Because it's so big at that point, you don't have time to do that every show. And so, the bigger the community gets, the more layered it becomes, and the more inside references there are, and the more unique layering there is, and the more unique culture there is even within that show. And it looks weird. It looks strange to an outsider because they haven't been baked into it yet. So I think this is a valid criticism, too, that we'll try and do a better job of. I can't literally explain everything to you every show. I do think that there are some people who may be turned off by certain aspects of what we do or confused by certain aspects of what we do if you watch one or two shows that would be hardcore into what we do if you watched one or two dozen shows or listened to one or two dozen shows. I will also say this. It's a way different show in the season than it is out of the season. And that's probably the case everywhere. But I read it. I read the Reddit thread. I did not comment, not even with a burner yet. That may change, but appreciate the feedback. It did help. I did take it under advisement, and I will continue to do so. Can you believe that, Jesse? Condescending? Not I. Not I. It's just fun. It's just fun. It's a joke. That's what it is most of the time. So when I talk that way, if you've watched 400 of our shows, you get it. If you've watched 40 minutes of one show, maybe you don't get it, but I am very humbled and privileged to be able to do this. No one gets how big a privilege this is more than me. If you know my story, you know why I feel that way. The last thing that I'm about to do is be intentionally condescending. I may have a strong opinion every now and then, or if I seem like I actually am speaking with condescension dripping out of the mouth, it's because I'm joking with you. That's what that is, one way or the other.